so that you'll be able to receive a copy of today's session after everything is done. So hi, a very good morning to everyone on this fine Wednesday morning. My name is Nicholas. I'm the Senior Customer Consultant from Elsevier, and I've been with Elsevier for approximately 7 years now. In today's session, I'll be sharing with you on search strategies on ScienceDirect and Scopus, how you can search on ScienceDirect and Scopus, and how you are able to leverage on their functionalities. We talk about how you can search, how you can do advanced searches, how you can browse on ScienceDirect and Scopus, how you're able to leverage on ScienceDirect Topics, as well as how you're able to search for SDG goals on Scopus itself. But before I actually get started, can I see a show of hands how many of you know the difference between ScienceDirect and Scopus? Okay, small showing of hands, all right? Okay, before I actually get started, and let me clarify one thing first, because people tend to ask me questions about this even though even after years, right? Because people assume since it's Elsevier, they're more or less the same thing, but it's not. So a quick clarification here is that Elsevier is the world's largest journal publishing company, but there are a few ways in which we do this. ScienceDirect is where we publish all our full text articles of our journals. So if you want to read a full text research paper, you have to go to ScienceDirect. Scopus, on the other hand, is the world's largest abstract and indexing database. So if you want to get an overview pertaining to abstracts, indexes, citations, author profiles, affiliation profiles, you can use Scopus for this, right? The use cases are quite varied. I'll go through this in more detail in the session as we come along. So how ScienceDirect supports research and learning is through relevance, discoverability, as well as flexibility. Relevance is the content for you to do your education and learning. Discoverability is how you can search. Flexibility is how you can access all this. I thought it would be very interesting to walk you through on the entire process of how content is actually published. So every single year, we get about 2 million article and chapter submissions over to Elsevier. This is submissions, and in 2020 is about 2.5 million. One of the big challenges that we face, and one thing which customers always ask me is, hey, Nicholas, why is it that not all our articles are fully published on Elsevier, right? And the answer is simple, because we want to maintain a very high threshold of quality of content and research. So not everything is published. We go through a very stringent criteria check, and we reject approximately about 70% of the time. But the ones that have gone through the entire peer review process to ensure that their quality standards are maintained, we promote about 2.5 million of them. We enable about 1 million reviewers. We basically have over 7 million author-publisher communications every year. And we publish approximately about over 550,000 articles on ScienceDirect in 2020. And this is made discoverable through search engine marketing. We disseminate about 1 billion downloads per year. And basically over the entire year itself, the content is made available to be read, download, and the uptime of the content platform is about 99.82%. The reason why you should use ScienceDirect is quite my way. And why this is very crucial is because you're already gaining knowledge in your coursework. So how is it that Elsevier is able to add to this process to make the knowledge streamlined and meaningful for students? And this part here is where we'll talk about knowledge and practice, right? Knowledge refers to basically having basic scientific facts, but the practice of it is for you to read these facts, to ask questions, and to define problems. You're able to subconsciously identify patterns, but a very disciplined practice and approach will be for you to analyze and to interpret the data. You can identify cause and effects in terms of knowing what the mechanism is and the explanation for this is. And the practice for this is to construct solid explanations throughout. You can create and build system models a very good way for you to do this is practice with to engage in argument from evidence. You can have a structure and function, but how you want to do is to obtain, evaluate, and to communicate this information throughout. So all this can actually come across when you're reading a research article, if you think about it. If you're asking questions and defining problems, you'll be able to identify this from the introduction, from literature reviews, as well as methods. You can analyze and interpret data, and you can have this through discussions and conclusions. If you want to construct explanations using evidence, you can take a quick look at the results and discussions. If you want to engage in argument for evidence, you can read at the introduction, the discussion, and the conclusion of an article. And if you want to obtain, evaluate, and to communicate information, you can talk about implications, citations, as well as references. So if you want to actually build knowledge through this, ScienceDirect gives you a whole breadth of content through major reference works, ScienceDirect topics, journals, ebooks, serials, and handbooks. Where you are as a graduate, you tend to mostly read primary research that are published on journals, as well as a summary of journal articles on a topic, right? But if you're an undergraduate and you're reading, you really want to leverage on this pyramid of knowledge. See book serials, ebooks and monographs, textbooks, and major reference works help you with regards for you to understand information over a period of time, right? Book serials basically is an in-depth exploration of recent developments and methods in the field. Ebooks gives you complete, advanced, and detailed descriptions to get depth in subject areas. You get compendiums of information for techniques or fields to get quick answers. You're able to do a pedagogical examination or a didactic presentation of key subject area concepts, and you're able to get comprehensive foundational introduction to a discipline, to a discipline itself. So this is what we call the pyramid of knowledge. It's actually very useful. I highly encourage everyone to leverage on the content that you have available for you at USM to build your body of knowledge before you do a research. Now, this is the part where it gets more relevant, right? How are you able to discover this? How are you able to search on ScienceDirect? So I would say first and foremost, please log on to ScienceDirect itself, right? And when you go to ScienceDirect itself, the page you should be seeing is something like this. When you do a basic search on ScienceDirect, you basically have multiple search fields and filters. You have an advanced search field. You'll probably be able to get suggested publications, a filter for open access and open archive content, as well as to understand the journals that will accept your submission. There's really a whole range of content that you'll be able to see when you first log on to ScienceDirect. But the first thing I would encourage everyone to do is to create a user account. This user account, so I would say take probably about 3 minutes. It's not difficult to create a user account on Elsevier. This user account will allow you to do it to access both ScienceDirect as well as Scopus. This is what we call an ID plus. So first and foremost, go to ScienceDirect.com, go to the top right corner, and you can see create an account. So now you're able to actually unlock features that are specifically designed to support your research goals. You can set up alerts for searches, journals, and book series. You can receive recommendations personalized to your search history. You'll be able to access and manage your reading history, as well as to access ScienceDirect remotely. So first and foremost, please feel free, take approximately about 3 minutes to create your ScienceDirect account. And I think, and this will actually be much more helpful for us as it comes along. Good. Some of you have been really fast about this. Yes, this entire session is recorded, so you have a copy of this later as well. And I'll be sending the slides through too. Okay, great. So some of you actually have already completed this. So let's go on to the next stage. So now that you're on ScienceDirect, feel free to start looking through around. The first thing you probably see is the search box. And then you get a whole range of search fields, filters, and alerts to focus your search. But what we want to do is to walk you through the search process first. So under the search bar, you can go and take a quick look, right? And some of you know your research areas. You can type in either your keywords under the author name, or for some of you who know your journals, you can even search by journals as well. This is a good way to get started. The fun part comes when you're able to get a lot of results and hits. And then the question here would be, how is it that you're able to filter it downwards? So there are a couple of ways. One, you can access the basic search, and by using a combination. The other thing you can do is to use advanced search, and you can see how much details there are. You can search by the author affiliation or the article type. You can filter by the open access or the open archive articles. You can check suggested publications. You can filter for volume or issue number in journals or book searches. You can set search alerts. You can establish access and entitlement icon on each article, or you could download the search alert list as a CSV file. But under advanced search, let's talk quickly about it. So advanced search is very useful because, and I think most of us here are all users of the internet. We all know how to narrow down search. But at the same time, I think there are some key tenets that we need to establish before we proceed. So we should use specific search terms that are closely related to our research topic. We should include alternate words and abbreviations if you want to expand our search range. At the same time, we want to be very specific. We want to avoid words that are way too general. We also can support Boolean operators such as and, or, and not. These are the three Boolean operators, and they have to be entered in uppercase. The hyphen or minus symbol is also interpreted as the not operator. So if you look black hyphen whole, you get results containing black, but not any instances where a whole appears with it. The Boolean precedence is as follows: it's not first, followed by and then or. So what are Boolean operators? So basically they're kind of like keywords, keystrokes, right? That allow you to do combination of words so that it's not only for words and phrases that you're searching for, but also able to combine with other terms as well. So and finds documents which contains all the terms. You use it when the terms must appear, and they may be far apart from each other. So for instance, if I'm looking for a geographic information system in open inverted commas and urban sustainability. So you notice a couple of things here. Firstly, geographic information system here is in open inverted commas. So basically I'm looking for basically these three words within the article itself, right? So it's kind of like key phrases. The or operator finds documents which contains any of the terms. Use or when at least one of the terms must appear, such as synonyms, alternate spellings, or abbreviations. So if you're looking for a micromouse or a picomouse, this is what you can do. So you can look for it and under Stephen W. Hawking in open inverted commas or different permutations of the author's name itself, right? Then you'll be able to get the articles that come up as well. Not excludes documents that include the specific term from the search. Use not to exclude specific terms. And this connector must be used at the end of a search. So if you look for particle collisions and not theoretical. We have wildcards such as using asterisks, and they can be used at the end of the word to represent 0 or more characters. And this is what we call a truncation operator. So if you're looking for, say, pharma, asterisks, you get all of the words. You get pharma, pharmacist, pharmaceutical, pharmaceutics, pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic, etc. So this saves you time. You can use in the 3 fields: the main search box, the title, abstract keywords field, as well as the title field. But you need to type at least 3 characters before truncating with the asterisks. So ABC asterisk is supported, but AB asterisk is not supported because there will be too many permutations itself. Your search query can contain a maximum of 10 wildcards, and they can be combined with up to 20 Boolean operators, such as and, or, not, and parentheses. So note, you can use this in the main search box over here, the title, abstract, or author keywords, and the title field. So if you feel that you have time, you just put it in your keywords itself. Otherwise, you can put it and click on the drop-down box on the advanced search, and you'll be able to get the rest of the content you're looking for. So after this specific product release, queries containing up to 500 characters in all fields and title, abstract, and keywords fields will be allowed to be input. So you have more flexibility in narrowing down the content that you're looking for. So this is the part where I was talking about. So based on what I've talked to you about pertaining to Boolean operators, wildcard operators, let's try a range of exercises that you can do over here. So I'm going to give you maybe about 5 minutes, right? It's about 10:17. So at 10:22, you can share with me the number of searches that you've gotten on PalmAll, or you can share with me some of your approach, right? How you're able to get some of the searches. I'll run through some suggested ways of doing it. There is no hard and fast rule. It's always flexible, right? So let's take a quick look at PalmAll in Malaysia, or the novel coronavirus and Islamic banking. So at about 10:23, we'll get back. In the meantime, if you have any questions, type them in the Q&A box. So yeah, your 5 minutes start now. So for those of you who are not certain of what you have to do, just go on to ScienceDirect.com and try running a couple of searches. So some of you have done it already, which is great. Okay, there are a few ways for you to do it. You can basically run a number of searches, and then you can share with me how you got your search numbers. And I think that's just a quick way for you to get moving so that you know how to use what I was talking about pertaining to Boolean operators as well as wildcard operators. So some of you will probably already have noticed the numbers you're getting is not the same as what everyone else is getting. So I'll say, don't worry, it's perfectly normal. All right, so let's get started. Let's just share some of what we are talking about. So if I look at PalmOil itself, right, sometimes I might even get 63,000 results, right? It's very loose. But if I put it PalmOil in open inverted commas, this narrows it down to 28,868, for instance. But then if I put PalmOil, I use open inverted commas, I use the N modifier, and I include Malaysia in the advanced search title field, I'll be able to narrow this down quite significantly to 8,574. So I know most of you have been getting about 13,000, right? But try PalmOil and Malaysia, maybe you'll be able to find out that this actually narrows down for you the way your search counts are doing, because you don't want to go through 13,000 all the time. Novel coronavirus is a bit more tricky, right? Because how we're searching for this is not just by the name itself. We are looking for this via, say, open inverted commas, COVID-19 or 2019, nCoV or SARS-CoV in the advanced search field. Then one thing that what we can do, for instance, is to narrow it down further, because we want to know what's the latest research coming on pertaining to the Omicron variant, right? So what you can do here is that you can refine it further by typing it in 2022. For Islamic banking, I think some of you actually got very similar results as mine, because what we did here was to look at Islamic banking in open inverted commas, and you're actually able to bring this down to 721 search results. Because if you type in just Islamic banking, you get probably I assume about 4,010, right? And the question here is this something that you want to go through? Because that's a lot of content to go through as well. So try use a combination of what we talk about. The open inverted commas approach is a very useful approach. You can try doing it. You find that you make your life a lot easier. So we talk about all this, right? And then one of the other things that you can also do is to also browse through content by using journals and books tab itself. You can refine for publications by the domain and subdomain. You can choose the type of publications and the type of access. So some of you also will be wanting to know more about journals itself, because you want to know about the content you're reading and where it comes from. So we have what we call journal homepages. This allows you to go to the journal homepage. You'll be able to find out more about the aims and scope of the journal. You'll be able to know how well the journal is performing in terms of impact factor and site score. If you want to submit to these journals, you can click on the guide for authors, and it gives you more details on what is required for you to write and to publish. You can find out how you can click to submit your article. So this actually really is very useful, I think. Most of the time when people ask me, hey, Nicholas, what's a good journal for us to submit to? At the end of the day, you're the subject matter expertise, right? You know your domain of research the best. So you can share your information accordingly as well. This allows you to discover relevant content faster. You'll be able to identify content too. The next thing I actually want to share with you is something very exciting. We have been working on what we call the ScienceDirect topic pages for some time now. And what it does is that it uses artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithm, and natural language processing tools to build a bridge between book and journal content, so that you're actually able to get comprehensive interdisciplinary knowledge to help to answer research questions, so that you know more about a topic itself, and then you can get up to speed about it too. So we have about 330,000 pages from over 20 subject areas, linked from over 4.8 million journal articles. And you can access this by going to sciencedirect.com/topics/index. So this is an index page for all the topics that we have. You can use this to narrow down to topics that you're interested in, right? So now you're actually able to get information at your fingertips. This is curated, relevant, peer-reviewed content, and it's a very quick way for discoverability. You can use topic pages alongside journal articles to identify how essential it is for journals to be available from a range of contents so that you're able to understand more information, to build this, to understand, to do your research, as well as to build into your courses itself. And we actually have worked with Google to partner with us on this. So if you're looking for, say, polarization resistance, you can type this onto Google and you'll be able to see at the top of the search bar, you'll be able to see the topics from ScienceDirect itself, right? And you get a quick definition of this. Polarization resistance is really the resistance of the specimen to oxidation during the application of an external potential, right, etc. You can take a quick look at this. It will tell you the definition, it will share with you the related term, and now it will share with you content that you have accessible at USM pertaining to the information you're looking for. How it helps you is that, for instance, when you're reading a content on ScienceDirect itself, sometimes you'll be able to come across terms that you're not familiar with, right? Like amygdala. And then now you'll be able to click on this. It's a hyperlink. It's a bit like Wikipedia. So when you click on this, you'll be able to get more information. It gives you the definitions. You get to know more about the terms itself. Under the topic index, now this actually helps you as a faculty member to understand relevant content for online course materials. So if you want to build a course material, you can search for terms under the topic pages that I shared with you earlier, and then you can build this by sharing content and examples as well. This also works for you to understand better, more information about your research topic. So the whole thing about using ScienceDirect itself is really flexible, right? I think that, and we all created the login profiles earlier. So now you're actually able to stay logged in as you browse in and out. You share information about you. It can also push forward recommendations over to you directly based on your search history. So this will give you a nice prompt when new articles are published. The recommendations is a very interesting way. It gives you a list of recommended research content every week via your email itself. The recommended tool is really good. So over 25% of researchers will get a recommendation that they want to read. And once you're registered and linked in onto ScienceDirect, you look for patterns in usage to understand your research interests, right? The more frequently you sign in, the more relevant the recommendations are. We also keep track of your reading history so that, well, the algorithm will keep track of your reading history so that when you log into it, you'll be able to see your most recent activities. The top 100 ones are the most recent articles that you have read that will be saved. And then you can review, save, and delete it from your reading history itself. For those of you who actually haven't been using a reference manager when you're doing your research, my recommendation is please do so, because it really makes your life a lot easier too. Mendeley is a free to use by Elsevier. This is a free reference manager. You'll be able to save the articles on ScienceDirect as well as Scopus, and then you can import this into your bibliometrics itself. So please leverage on this too. So at this point in time, I want to take a quick pause and ask you if you have any questions for me regarding ScienceDirect before we go on. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, this is a very good question. Someone asked if there's a quick way to know which journal publishes short communications, research notes, research letters, apart from full text articles. The answer is actually you can leverage it on Scopus. So Scopus will give you a range of filters for you to identify this. But let's take a quick look on ScienceDirect as well, because on ScienceDirect, you'll be able to see what are the terms that, the definitions of what we were talking about. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to open a portal itself, a browser itself, sorry. So let me know when you see my screen. Great. So let's log on to ScienceDirect first. Yes, you have a copy of the entire video recording, so let's take a quick look at some of the keywords you will be looking at. So your view of ScienceDirect will be quite similar to what I'm looking at. The only difference is if you haven't created a user ID and to log in first. That's the first thing. Now, subsequently, what you can do is to type in a keyword here, right? So I already have coronavirus saved in. And you'll come across as the following search details, right? We can filter this by 2022. Let's do it because I think it makes more sense. Otherwise, you're not getting the most updated research and information. The first thing you'll be able to see is you can sort it by relevance, which is by keywords, or by date. Date would show you the most recent article. Now, you were asking about what are the different types. So you'll be able to see there are review articles, research articles, encyclopedias. You can narrow it down and then you can access this instantly, right? So if I want to know more about this, I can click on the encyclopedia. And then you'll be able to know more about coronavirus infections under SARS, under MERS, under SARS-CoV-2. And then you'll be able to access this content itself. You can also choose to not go by encyclopedia. You can unselect it, and then it will bring you to the previous page. You can see what are the book chapters, the conference abstracts that you are requesting for. You'll be able to find more information about it over here too. And then you'll be able to see what are the publication articles and the subject areas and the open access. And if you want to clear filters, you can do this itself. What you can also do is, for instance, if there are more articles that you want to know more about, you can simply click the abstract over here, or you can choose to export this into either one, right? So it's not just only Mendeley that you can export to. You can also export this over to via EndNotes itself. And if you want to set a search alert, you can click here and you'll be able to get a notification for you to know what's the name of the search alert that you're looking for. Then you can set it on a weekly basis or monthly basis. So this gives you some level of flexibility. So hopefully this helps. You should be able to search for this under wildcard operators. Where do you type in the colon asterisks? Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Okay, this may be a product thing, so I will have to look into this and I'll get back to you. But thanks for bringing this up because you should be able to get access to this. So unfortunately, I think you probably would have to leverage on the Boolean operators itself for the time being first. Thanks for sharing this with me. Yeah. Okay, does anyone have any other questions? If not, we'll go over to Scopus itself. So Scopus, there's a very big difference between Scopus and ScienceDirect. ScienceDirect, like we discussed, is a full text article database. Scopus is the world's largest abstract indexing database, right? We get the content from over about 7,000 publishers, from over 27 journals itself, and about 250,000 books. And we are actually able to aggregate this into over 85 million items with 1.7 billion cited references And we use this to create over 17 million author profiles and about 94,000 affiliation profiles. So we're able to have discoverability and analytics tools at the hands of researchers, librarians, and institutional research managers and funders. You're able to identify and analyze which journals you want to read and to submit to. You're able to track and assess a researcher's impact. You're able to decide what, where, and with whom you may want to collaborate and to work with. How you're able to track global impact of research. How you're able to monitor global research trends. How you're able to find current research and to determine how to differentiate between research topics and to find ideas. So once again, I would say this is a part of Scopus, which is really interesting. For the search, you want to use terms that are related to your research topic and to avoid words that are too general and to include words and abbreviations. Once again, the Boolean operators and, or, and not are available for you here. So I would encourage you to also leverage on this to use it. Under phrases and separate words, right? If you don't specify anything between the two words, Scopus will join them with the words and, so the words may not necessarily be together. So for instance, if you want to look for a phrase in Scopus, you want to use the double quotation marks, like conversion disorder. Otherwise, without it, it will just be a bunch of loose words with and in between. So one very quick example is that you can type this conversion disorder under Scopus search. You'll be able to see that there's a big difference between conversion disorder and conversion and disorder itself. The other thing you can also do is to find words that are close to one another. So proximity operators will find words near one another. So for instance, what we're talking about will be preceding and within. So preceding and means the first word must not be more than n words away from the second words. Within doesn't matter which words is first. So for instance, Zika preceding 2 virus, we find Zika or dengue virus, as well as the Zika virus itself. Zika within 2 virus, we'll find Zika virus infection with Zika, or virus like Zika, or virus and Zika, right? Or just Zika and virus. But this is much more precise than Zika and virus itself because it will just be all the words that you're looking for too. So looking at the search terms, if you look at, say, Zika preceding 2 virus, you get about 8,645. If you look for, say, Zika virus in phrases, you get 8,561. If you just use Zika and virus, you get about 9,297. So be very careful on how you actually want to do the proximity search and how you want to structure it. So Scopus does automatic correction. Well, not correction. It makes it easier for you to search, right? So you're looking for, say, accented characters like Vorak. You don't need to type in the umlauts or the accents. It lemmatizes it for you. So attacks and attacks are the same. Wide and wider will be the same. If you type in omega, it will be the same thing as well. Behavior with the U and the American spelling, and in the British spelling and the American spelling would fundamentally be the same as well. Punctuation is ignored, like commas, hyphens. Words like the, it, of are excluded from the search, and you can override with an exact phrase, like by putting them in curly braces. So you can use wildcards in Scopus. This one I'm 100% certain. You can use it anywhere in the word, even at the beginning. Question mark represents a single character. Asterisk represents any number of characters, right? But only within the word itself. So if you look for, say, W asterisk T, you're not going to get word list, right? You're looking for wit, what, white, for instance, whitest, for instance. So I would say we can take a quick look for you to browse through this exercise, but I think because we have already done this earlier, so we're quite familiar with this, right? So under Scopus itself, you get probably about over 277,000 searches, and you get maybe about, if you filter it for COVID-19, you get about 28,588. If I'm looking for, say, a fire ignition system in open inverted commas, and that's too specific because I'm only getting 2 document results, I can use the ignitions, I can use the search field, I can use the word automatic in asterisks, and I get about 121 document results. If I'm looking for, say, air conditioning systems, you can use the word controller, use the N modifier and include the term aircon, and you get about 2,698. But if I add in the word smart controller, this narrows down my search fields dramatically. And this is how it really looks like on Scopus, right? Scopus gives you a full range of details and functionality. There's so much to go through, right? You can look for it under open access, or you can browse, sort it out through the years. We can analyze the search results to know and identify the functionalities by who is the top author, which institution produces the most research in the area, or which country, for instance. And under here, you can sort it by cited by the highest number of citations. So if I'm looking for COVID-19, the most number of citations comes from this article that was published in the Lancet, followed by this article published in the New England Journal of Medicine, etc. Right, and there's a lot of citations that you're looking at as well. So under searching for Scopus itself, you can actually type in under the search fields itself. You can type in under all fields or the article, title, abstract, and keywords. You can sort this by the number of years that you're looking at. This helps to narrow it down. Scopus doesn't give you full text. Once again, it gives you abstracts. So when you're looking at it, you see the title, you'll be able to see the authors, you'll be able to see the institutions they are from, the abstracts, and then you're able to find the author keywords, the index keywords, funding sponsors. So sometimes if you want to restrict your search using a specific field, you can use the box with the add search field. And then what it does here, it automates the whole Boolean operator for you. You can also search for it by combination, right? So if you're looking for, say, COVID-19, you can type in the author's name here if you know that what is the name of the author who specializes in this area. If you perform a search via the search form, now it's automatically recorded in the search history itself. And then you can refine the results by the year, by the access, source, year, author name, publication state, affiliation, subject area, source type, keyword, sponsors, document types, countries. So this gives you a huge range of flexibility to choose it. You'll be able to find some of the author details, and then you can zoom in on the author to either limit or to extract it or to exclude publications from the search itself, right? This is really helpful. You can also sort it by, the default option is the whole set of results you obtain, get it by relevance, but I tend to like to go by number of citations. I'll be able to see how relevant it is that other researchers are consuming this information. So you can sort it by date, cited by, first author, and source title. So something very interesting that we have done is what we call sustainable development goals, right? What you can do is to go to the advanced search tab that you see here. Under the bottom right corner, you can see pre-generated queries, and you'll be able to see the UN Sustainable Development Goals for 2020 itself. You can click on this, and then you can see from 1 to 16. Some of you will be asking, Nicholas, there's about 17 SDGs. Why is it that you only have 16? Answer is very simple. 17 is a bit hard for us to define. It's a bit too complicated. So we did what we could with the first 16 SDG queries itself. So now it's very simple, right? You click on the query that you're looking at. So I click on SDG 16 and I got about over 16 million results. And SDG 16 is something that USM does very, very well at. So if you want to know more about this, you can go to Times Higher Education Impact Rankings. You can look for USM. You'll be able to see the SDG areas in which USM is very strong in. So you'll be able to see how we've actually done the search over here. You can see it's human health, disease, illness, medicine, mortality, and a whole combination of other key phrases and words and combinations that we've been able to do. You'll be able to see the wildcard operators here. You'll be able to see the and, or, not, and this is just like a part of the entire search queries that we have run over for SDG 16. Now you can filter it by the year, right? Because you'll be able to see which is the year that publishes the most amount of research. You can see in 2021, there was about 900,000. That's a lot of research articles to go around. You can limit it by the country, by the affiliation, right? So you get a lot more flexibility pertaining to what you're looking for. And what we have done very recently, and this is completely fresh off the press, is to putting SDG within the documents itself, right? So with the SDGs being an important role in research, we want users to be able to search and to understand the link to the research outputs in Scopus. So we map each Scopus publication to the relevant UN SDGs, and then it's listed on the publication's document details page. So now you'll be able to see how this research translates it, right? You'll be able to see no poverty, good health and well-being, gender equality, climate action, for instance. So if I'm looking to say food insecurity during COVID-19, you'll be able to see what this research is about, and you'll be able to see this fits under no poverty as well as zero hunger, amongst the other metrics. And this is actually very interesting, and we are looking to really improve this over the course of 2022 and 2023, right? So you'll be able to see the labels itself. This is something which I think is really useful and helpful. The one caveat is that this relates to the 2020 definition of the query. Updates will come when the 2021 queries are available, right? So I'm going to stop sharing first, and I'm going to run through with you Scopus itself directly so that we can talk about this as it comes along. So in the meantime, I'm going to share my screen and let me know if you're able to see the content I'm sharing. Let me see a couple of questions that came up as well. Someone's asking, can we use ScienceDirect to find the research gap and to test the topic whether it's new? Yes, you can. I would say you can use Scopus for this as well, because ScienceDirect relates very specifically to content published by Elsevier, whereas Scopus itself gives you a broader range of topics, right? Okay, let's take a quick look at some of the things that we're talking about, right? So let's take a quick look at COVID-19 once again. Right, we get about 280,000 results, which is really a lot to go through. Let's take a quick look and narrow it down to like the 2022 research that we're looking at. So 2021 was a crazy year for research. It was about 162,000 articles published on COVID-19. We're only 2 months in right now of 2022, and with almost 30,000, right? So let's take a quick look at search here. So this is the first initial search that we're looking at, right? So you can see this is title abstract keywords and limited to the publication year of 2022. You can see this itself under the advanced search. You can see who the top authors are. You can see which subject areas we're looking at. If you want to look at, let's take a look at final articles, we can limit it accordingly. And then we'll be able to see the document types as well, the journals, the keywords, as well as which affiliation is publishing the most, right? We can see that Harvard is very active with regards to this research, together with INSEM, University of Toronto, and University of Oxford. We can also filter this by country level, who is doing the most amount of research, and what language you're looking at over here. So one thing I would say is that in Scopus, all publications will need to have an English title and abstract before it can be indexed in Scopus itself. So let's take a quick look at this information itself, right? Conspiracy theories, mistrust, and compliance with government guidelines in England itself. So we see that this research article has already been cited about 172 times. We have a term here called field-weighted citation impact. This basically means that it's basically a normalized metric for you to understand how well this research topic is performing compared to its other peers itself, right? And then you can see the number of due counts, and then you can click on the SDG goals. Do we have any? It's under good health and well-being under SDG 3, right? So something I think pretty interesting for you to know. Yeah. So yeah, this is something what it really looks like. Now, if we want to go back and we want to find out more about SDG 3, for instance, we try to make life very simple for everyone now. So under advanced document search, you can click on this. And then now under the bottom SDG goals, you can see over here, right? Let's take a quick look at good health and well-being. We select it, and this automatically populates it for you. So for those of you who want to know how it works, you can simply outline the query. Okay, in this case, it didn't, because what it does was to take a look at title, abstract, and keywords, right? But what you can do in times like this is when you have a long query, you can outline the query so it's easier for you to browse through it, or you can use a compact query version of it, and then you can search the keywords over here. Right, so about 16 million document results as well. And then now you can filter it for accordingly to which one is the most searched for. So we have one article that was published in 2018, which is basically about global cancer statistics. So this is a very top rated research with over about 40,000 citations, for instance. And now you can find out more about it. You can find out that it's probably about in the 99th percentile in terms of the overall metrics. It has a crazy FWCI of 2,525. It's about a view count of over 1,500. If you want to know more about metrics, you can click over here, right? And this brings you more into Promax metrics, but we'll leave this topic for another time. Yeah. So I will be sharing once again this recording itself. If I'm speaking too fast, now is a good time for you to let me know, or it's a bit too late because we're almost at the end of what we have to present. But before I go, I have a couple more things that I want to share with you first. So some of you will be able to access subscriber links, right? So if you're looking for, say, current management strategies or topics on Google, sometimes it will link you to the articles over on ScienceDirect itself. But I would encourage everyone to try reading and accessing content on ScienceDirect and Scopus directly as well. ScienceDirect itself is very secure. We have tried to prevent security breaches, and it's very, very safe for you to access remotely. If you want to know more information about ScienceDirect, you can go to the support center, right? And it will bring you to the page itself. So you can simply type in ScienceDirect Support Center or Scopus Support Center on Google itself, and it will bring you to those pages. So if you have any questions related to those, you can actually type those in and you'll be able to access it directly. The other thing that I actually really want to show you is what we call Journal Finder, right? Something that people will always tend to ask would be, if I want to look for a journal to publish in, what would be a good way for me to identify the journal? Answer is simple. Go to journalfinder.elsevier.com. You can put in your paper title, your paper abstract, and the paper keywords. You can select it by your field of research, right? And now you're actually able to come up with a list of journals that we suggest to you that is good enough for you to publish in. So if you want it as a non-open access article, if you want a citation matrix of more than 1.5, you can adjust this accordingly, and then you click to find the journal, and you'll come up with a list of journals that are very strong for you to consider submitting to. Then this information will give you like a range of submission timelines and dates. It will make your life a bit easier and flexible as well. So there's really a whole bunch of information that you can access on ScienceDirect and Scopus. There is also as well Researcher Academy, right? So at this point in time, I'm very happy to take any questions that you may have on these topics if you want to know more about it. Okay, some very good questions coming in, right? So someone might want to know, how can you extract the number of Scopus index articles affiliated to a specific institution or country every year? It's quite simple. So what you can do is this would entail you having to go through to the Scopus homepage. Well, I think the demonstration probably make more sense here. I'll stop sharing for now. Let me know if you can see my screen. So very simple. If I'll go to Scopus itself, if I'm looking for, say, affiliation, first and foremost, I'll go under affiliation itself, right? And let's take a look at USM. So it will automatically generate for you. Now, under USM itself, I probably want to take a look at the documents for the entire institution. I'll click on this over here. And the reason for this is simple, because there's a multitude of different affiliations USM. You can see that's the overarching USM. There's a graduate school of business. There's a school of pharmaceutical sciences. There's a health campus. There's hospital USM, etc. Now, what you can do is actually very simple, right? What you can do is to simply select 2021, and then you can limit it to, and then you can extract it as well. You can select all these articles under all here. And then you can choose to export this accordingly to however you want it, right? Probably as a CSV file under all the titles, you can choose it, and then you can choose to export it. Because it's actually more than 2000, so what you have to do is you can simply type in your name over here, and then it will export it to you, and you get a notification pertaining to it. You're not going to get this immediately. It will take probably about 1 to 2 days, or actually a couple of hours as a matter of fact, depending on how fast the system is. And then you get a notification from your email itself. So yeah, that's probably how you can do it and how you can actually get the number of articles submitted over. Another very good question we have here is, what is the difference between Web of Science as well as Scopus itself? So two very big differences. So Scopus itself is developed by Elsevier. It's the world's largest A&I database, and we have a very transparent way of cataloging and showcasing the requirements for a journal to be indexed within Scopus itself. Web of Science has a bit more of an opaque system. We don't have the clarity pertaining to it. It's done completely in-house. Scopus, what we do is that we get an external board of journal experts, so about 23 of them, and then they are the ones who basically evaluate the journals that are submitted over to us. We can talk more about this subsequently because there'll be a session where we can talk about journal sources. I'm sure there'll be a session scheduled later in the year, and this is something that I will be able to answer to you, answer in a lot more detail. Someone's asking if I'm looking for a gap selecting a country or region. Sorry, can you give me more specifics? Yes, once again, you get a recording, you get a copy of the recording and the presentation, so don't worry about it. So I'll be able to say, so what I would say is it really boils down to what topic that you're searching into. So what you can do is you can look at a piece of research in a subtopic, right? And I would say be as granular as possible. When you're looking at this topic itself, you can look at who has already published these articles, right? That's a good way for you to know who you can collaborate with. But I guess at the same time, it's very apparent if a country is also not publishing about this research area, right? If you want to confirm it, you can actually type in under the advanced search and you can add Malaysia, for instance, if you want to see if there's a gap of knowledge pertaining to this research in Malaysia. So you'll get a copy of the recording, guys, don't worry about it. This entire system, I'm sure that when you signed up, there was a link of it so that you'll be able to see it, right? And the link was prompted for you to get it. So this recording link will be sent over to you, and I'll also be sharing the slides, so not to worry. Yeah. But in the meantime, what would be really helpful is if you are actually able to complete the survey and the survey code that you see over here. So if you complete in the survey code and the survey, and then key in the code, you'll actually be able to get a copy and a certificate showcasing that you attended this session. So this would actually help to make your life easier. So I'll take a couple of minutes for you to take a screenshot of the survey link and the code. I've actually pasted it in the chat so that everyone can now click on the survey link and the code itself. And you should be able to access this as well. So in the meantime, I'll stay out for maybe one more minute, couple of minutes. For those of you to ask me any other questions, you can type them in the Q&A box. Yeah, that'll be good. I think some of the questions that you've asked have been really good so far. So yeah, don't feel free, don't be afraid to ask me any more detailed questions, like any clarification too. All right. Yeah, I think unfortunately in this case, how Scopus has defined it as a bit more broader. So it's not as granular a level as what you're looking for, I think. Yeah, I think unfortunately this is I think what you might want to do for this Funtang is for you to actually take a look at if you know which journals is something to, maybe it would help, right? Because different journals will have different practices. So maybe you might have to narrow it down specifically by journal, by publication source type. Yeah. In this case, I think it's because we categorize it in a bit more broadly. So that's my understanding. You can drop me an email at n.park@elsevier.com if you need more clarification, and I'll look into it for you. Great, no worries. So yeah, so thanks a lot, everyone. I think it was a very dynamic session today, and thanks a lot for sharing with me the questions you have. I look forward to seeing with you. Wait, I think there's one more question. Okay. Yes, this is a very good question. So Cui Heng is sharing that when you look at the keywords, the answers are not related to your topic, it's related to medicine and business. So under the subject category on the left side, right, you can choose the one that's specifically related to your areas, maybe engineering, right? You'll be able to deselect medicine and business, and you can select and limit it specifically to engineering. So this would probably help you as well. So I think just to give you a quick share and view. So assuming that we are looking at this over here, right, these results over here, if you want to look specifically under computer science, for instance, you can click computer science over here, and then you can limit it to over here. Now you're actually looking at the computer science output from USM itself. This will probably be a good way for you to browse and to search for the information you're looking for. Now, if you feel that there's another way of searching for it granularly, you can search within the results itself. That should help you too. Yeah. All right. So thanks a lot for today's session. It was really good. And you get a copy of the recording in today's session sent to your email. So feel free to access it and to browse it. What I'll do is I'll also send a copy of this over to the librarians who promoted it, so you'll be able to access it as well. So in the meantime, thank you so much. Do stay safe. Take care of yourself. I'll see you around soon for the next session. Take care.